we doing, guys? Welcome to Friday Waffle. I'm actually recording this on what's Friday morning. I'm off work today. I'm on annual leave. Excuse me. Anyway, yeah, I'm on annual leave today and Monday. Tonight, or I should say tomorrow morning at 1 AM, I'll be setting out on my 95-mile West Highland Way race. I don't mind admitting I'm pretty much shitting bricks at the moment. My training's not been the best, but I'm going to give it my best shot. But it's I think being nervous is a good thing. You know, if you're going into something like that and you're not feeling nervous, there's something wrong, I would say. So I think nerves are good. But yeah, my daughter's at school, my wife's at work. I'm just kind of tottering about the house. I'm doing my best to try and not think about what's lying ahead. So I thought best way to take my mind off running is to talk about video game piracy. So that's what I'm here to do. It is going to be a shorter than normal waffle because I've not really had much an opportunity to think up much gaming wise. Excuse me. Gaming wise. I don't think I've been playing any video games at all this week. No, I haven't. I've just had other bits and pieces to kind of occupy myself. I will be getting quite a cool pickup next at the next computer club, which I shall show you. I'll do a video of that. Yeah, you may or may have not noticed my Hitler video thing. Now you've probably gathered that I didn't actually, make a video as such. There is a website you go to, and basically you can type in whatever you want into this thing. But there was one of my mates actually showed me, he did one for something else, something totally different for video games, and I thought it was brilliant. So I thought I'll give it a go. The only thing is, I noticed some of the when you type in the caption, it doesn't give you any indication of how long. Doesn't give you any indication of how long the caption is going to go on screen. So some of the sentences I was putting in, they were too long, they were flashing up for a second, but I'm sure you'll get the gist of it. I mean, I've watched it a couple of times and I think it's funny as anything. But yeah, you should go and check it out. You can make your own ones up. So anyway, yeah, the subject matter that I posted last week, although I did forget to mention it to make up another video, which somebody very kindly pointed out I look like Gandalf with my white beard. It's getting to that itchy stage now, but I was determined to keep my beard for this race. See how I get on, if it brings me any luck. So anyway, yeah, let's just batter right on, guys. So the questions I posed to you guys out there was just video game piracy. I always think it's quite an interesting subject. So let's just kick off. Kevin down the rabbit hole. He's asking, piracy question for Friday Waffle. Hi Alan, I hope I'm not too late to post this question. Nope, you're plenty of time, Kevin. In MAME, do you ever feel like you're committing piracy when you see games like Bomberman saying they can only be legally played in Japan? No, not in the slightest. I always kind of have a wee laugh to myself when I see like statements like that. I always imagine that I've been caught playing Bomberman on my MAME cab, and I go to prison, and you're in a cell and you're with somebody else, and he's like, "All right, then what are you in here for?" Or I say, "Yeah, what are you in here for?" He went, "Oh, I'm here for double murder and bank robberies and what have you." And he's like, "And what are you in here for?" "I'm in here for playing the Japanese Bomberman on the MAME cab." I mean, it's just ridiculous. I understand why they have these licensed things, but I think the chances of somebody being prosecuted, I've never heard of anyone being prosecuted playing a video game in a different country. It just sounds ridiculous. So, in answer to your question, Kevin, absolutely not. It doesn't even cross my mind. I just think it's a ridiculous thing, although I do understand why they have these things. But I certainly don't lose any sleep playing Japanese games when you get the wee disclaimer like that. Now, Mr. Monkey Spaz 5000. Right, this is straight out with the point. Do you pirate these games, modern items? If so, what and why? Do I pirate these? Do I pirate these days? Now, I've got to be honest. I have been a serial pirate most of my life, over various systems. Current systems that I've got. What I'm looking up here. The current systems I've got, if you want to call, you know, a PS3 current, Xbox 360 current. PS3, I buy games for it. You know, I would never buy a brand new game for it. Well, I tell a lie, I did buy Last of Us brand new for it. I buy games. I mean, the thing is, nowadays, piracy is almost a pointless exercise. I mean, we did it as kids because you wanted your pocket money or your wages. In my case, I was working part time. Your wages, pocket money was very limited, so you were forced to make a decision. You know, do I go for this? Do I go for that? And 9 times out of 10, there was maybe 10 games you wanted, and you could only buy one. So when it became apparent how easy it was to copy games, we did it because that's just what we did. Nowadays, you know, with the PS3, even like the PS2, PlayStation, any of the sort of the modern, I mean, I class the PlayStation onwards as a sort of modern era console. Nowadays, games, they're pennies to buy. They really are. You can go on eBay and you can buy games for pennies. You know, I mean, I think I mentioned I was in CEX, and there was was it Pro Evolution Soccer 2006 or something for the PlayStation, and it was 5 pence. I mean, I'm not saying they're all 5 pence, but you know, games nowadays for these games, or games, say, if you're willing to wait a few months, you'll get games for not a lot of money. So I absolutely don't. I've never pirated games in the PS3. Now, if I was able to download games for it, I possibly would. I mean, my PS3, I don't think there's any way. I think you can maybe get a chip fit or something, I'm not too sure. I possibly would. I mean, I've got 2 Xbox 360s. One had, I bought it and it's got, the disc drive is flashed, so it does play backups. Now, I mean, downloading games nowadays is so easy, especially when you've got quick sort of broadband. I've downloaded a big pile of games in the 360, and I've got to say, I haven't played any of them. I mean, behind me there, I've probably got the best part of 100 games for the 360. So again, it's one of these really pointless exercises. Yeah, you can copy games if you want, but you can get the original nice disc, you know, box instructions for a couple of quid. So I really don't think there's a lot of point. I mean, the most current console I've got is the PS4. Well, you know, I don't play it that often. I've got 6 games for it. Would I download games if I could? Probably not. I mean, games now, as anybody that's can testify who owns a current console, some of these games. What was the game? Was it the game GTA 5 on the not on the PlayStation, probably on the PlayStation, but on the PC? It was like 60 gig. So, you know, if you're going to start downloading games, you would be there for years and years and years downloading them. But yeah, as I say, I mean, money. I've got more money these days than I did when I was 16, 17 years old. But no, I don't pirate for any sort of current consoles. I do have a batch of Xbox 360 games, which I very rarely use. My PC. I mean, I used to be, like a lot of people, I used to be into piracy in the PC in a big way. Back in the early days, that was when you used to go to the sort of Sunday market and pick up a disc, a Mr. Blobby disc they were called. There was various ones, and it would maybe have 10 games in it. So yeah, I used to do that. But they were always a palaver. You had to fuck about with drivers, and they wouldn't always work. You had to download the latest patches and this, and there was a lot of messing about. But in the last, since I got my new PC about 6 months ago, Steam has come along, and to my mind, it's completely revolutionised game playing. It's piss easy to get games now. You know, you download them. It doesn't. The games aren't that big, apart from Grand Theft Auto 5, which I don't have. The thing is, pound for pound, the PC is probably the cheapest platform, apart from maybe a tablet if you want. You know, you get games for nothing, but you know, they've usually got the in-app purchases. But yeah, the PC, you can pick up games. You can pick up games that are maybe 2-3 months old for a couple of quid. I mean, I got Alien Isolation for, was it £4? I've got Dishonored, got that for about 3 or 4 quid. I've got Bioshock 2. You can get games for pennies. They have these bundle things, these sales on Steam, and you get maybe like 10 games, 10 full games for like £5. It's just nonsense. So, you know, I've got far too many games to play, and I'm certainly not going to start pirating games on the PC. Yeah, I mean the Wii U, not the Wii U, I've got games to Wii U there. The Wii, yeah, I've done which probably most people have done. I've got a hard drive connected to it, and I've probably got, I don't know, a couple hundred games for it. Never really play it. I mean, I've got quite a few originals as well. My daughter occasionally plays the Wii U, but aye, it's one of these things. If the opportunity is there to run backups, then it's something you would certainly think about. But I would definitely say in the last, probably, I don't know, the last maybe 10 years, I've you know, I've got that wee bit more money kind of thing, and you know, time's restricted. You know, I mean, I've got more games. I've got enough games to last me about 100 years. So there's really nothing to be gained with downloading more games. I mean, saying that, I've got my Sega Saturn, which I bought fairly recently. It's got a mod chip on it. Now I've got maybe 10 games, original games for it. You can't buy them in shops anymore. You can go on eBay. Now, you know, the whole thing about piracy is, are you depriving the seller of money? Absolutely you are. You're depriving the programmers, you're depriving the publishing companies. Buying from somebody on eBay, you're not depriving that person of any money. So I really don't. I'm not saying it's correct or it's right, morally right, but downloading games for a defunct system like the Saturn, the PlayStation, I don't see it as an issue. I really don't. I know some people still have this big it's a bone of contention saying, well, you know, Nintendo own the rights to Mario. Just because you can't buy a SNES anymore doesn't mean you've got a right to own it. That's probably true, but you know what, I couldn't really care. I'm not depriving anybody. I mean, I've got quite a few friends who work in the software industry. They're programmers and that kind of stuff. And you know, so now that I'm more morally aware of what I'm doing, kind of thing, and that's why for new systems, the PC, I simply don't pirate it. I mean, you know, I even bought Windows. I bought Windows 7 and Windows 8, whereas prior to that, I always just downloaded copies because it was so easy to do. So, hey, listen, I'm kind of probably talking about other questions here. That was the very first one. Second one, James is saying, can you remember one particularly piracy related story from back in the day? Tell me. I mean, again, I've kind of covered this before. The piracy thing for me really took off tenfold when I got the what did I get? I got the Atari ST and the Commodore Amiga. In fact, it was more than Amiga, because one of my mates discovered that there was a large open air market just outside Edinburgh. It was the biggest open air market in Europe, I think it was. It's no longer there, but a place called Ingliston Market. Now, he told me that apparently this guy was selling Amiga games. Now, prior to that, we would go and buy, me and my mate would chip in 50-50 and we'd buy one Amiga game a month, and then he would keep it. Then the following month we'd do the same and I would get to keep the game. So we were only really getting one game a month. So when my mate told me about this guy at the market, obviously the first thing I did was jump in the car and go through, and sure enough there was this guy, you know, selling discs. I can't remember how much they were, £5 each, which now, you know, there's no way I'd give somebody that kind of money, but when you were paying 30-40 quid for a game, £5 seemed quite cheap. So yeah, every Sunday, me and my mate would jump in the car, go through, and in the early days, the guy never made any attempt to hide what he was doing. When you got into his stall, all he had was these two sort of folders with games in it, and you just told him what you wanted, and then he would dig them out, and away you went, hand over the money, and away you went. But then when the police, I mean, they were on a hiding to nothing. They got wind of what was going on, so they would go along every now and again, and they would close these stalls down. So what this guy used to do was he would put a few original games. I mean, it was a dead giveaway to anybody that knew computer games. He'd maybe put like a 5-year-old boxed game on his desk, and he'd have a couple of boxed joysticks, and that was it. That was like all he had for sale. But obviously he had these folders underneath. But then he got cleverer. It got to the point where he set up a sort of like a tarpaulin tunnel at the back of the stall. So to the front of the stall you had these couple of games and a few joysticks. To the back you went through this tarpaulin sheet, and you had to stand in a queue and wait. You'd give your order, and what they would do is they would either burn them there and then. I think that's what they used to do actually. And then some of them actually they would radio to somebody in a car. They would get the discs, run back with them, and deliver the discs on demand. But I'm sure the guy I went to used to actually burn them on as you waited kind of thing. So yeah, and that always felt really, really seedy. I used to hate doing it, but you know what? There was nothing better than coming away from the market with a big bundle of new games to play. So yeah, I'm saying sadly, these. I mean, I hate to think how much money I must have given these guys over the years. You're talking about hundreds and hundreds of pounds. All for what? I mean, yeah, you got to play the games, but ultimately these discs ended up in the bucket. So yeah, that's my game of shame back in the day. Did you ever pirate a game and then return it to the shop? Once. I did it once, and it was a game. In fact, I tell you, I did it twice. I think the game was. What did I buy? I bought Backlash on, I think it was Atari ST actually, and I copied it, and I took the disc back saying it wasn't working, and the guy's like, nah, okay, right, don't really believe you. But anyway, that was it. He gave me my money back. Then I got another game, was Ranorama on the Atari ST. Tried to copy it, couldn't get the copy working. It also had protection. So what I decided to do was I peeled off the label of the original disc, and I put it onto the copied disc. Then I took the game back, and said it didn't work. And of course the guy put the disc in to test it, and sure enough, I think it got so far then stopped loading, and he was looking at the back of the disc, and he said to me, I'm sure you're at it here, I'm sure you've done something to this, I really don't believe you, but in this final instance I'll refund your money. So yeah, that was pretty bad. I'm not particularly proud of myself, but anyway, I'm going to pause this for a second, guys. Okay, right, the fourth question that James is asking, did you ever think piracy was a big deal back in the day? A big deal? Not really. When you say big deal, I'm not quite sure. Do you mean how important did I feel like I was really committing a crime? Not really. I mean, everybody was at it. Everybody was at it. There was always a wee bit of me. I think the only time it really kind of I thought about it, what I was doing, was when they started publishing adverts. Is it FAST, the Federation Against Software Theft? There you go. You had these really, really crummy sort of adverts. Yeah, when they started publishing adverts about piracy, that's when I thought, oh, I better be careful, the police might turn up at my door. But it never really went beyond being worried for about one femtosecond. It was just something that everybody did. Kids half my age were doing it, and it was such a massive thing. They were never ever going to actually prosecute anybody. I mean, I don't know. I've no doubt there were people prosecuted. The people they seemed to target mostly were guys who were actually selling games. I mean, can I state here and now, although I have been very, very guilty of pirating games over the years for a long time, I have never ever and would never ever sell a game. Yeah, I used to give games to people, I'd make copies for people, I never really had a problem doing that, but I would never ever, I mean, morally, I just thought, I'm not going to make money. It's, you know, it's bad enough me making a copy for myself, but I would never actually make money. So although I used to feed these people at markets by saying, you know, I would buy their games that they were selling, I would never have actually done the same myself. I knew that was just, to me, that was a step too far. I wasn't interested in money, I was interested in playing games. So that's why I would never actually. Okay guys, sorry about that. The card ran out of space again. I keep forgetting to delete the previous Waffle files. Yeah, so did I ever think piracy was a big deal back in the day? Not really, because everybody was at it. So, excuse me, right, Super Whizball, what are you actually saying here? I don't know if you're actually asking a question. C64 disc and tapes, Amiga disc copies, SNES disc copies and a wildcard ARRI. These are the different versions, different sort of formats of piracy that you actually did. Dreamcast, boot discs, backups, bought maybe 10 games. And what you're saying here is you pretty much ran copies on all these different machines. PS1, I think the PS1 was probably, some people actually reckon it was down to piracy that made the PlayStation the success it was. Everybody and their auntie, you know, you had a PlayStation, you had a mod chip fitted. Saturn mod chip, Xbox, Dreamcast, yeah. You did put a lot of money into arcade machines, so it's all fine. The Wii U has no backup options, so actually, right. So what you're saying here is, so the question, so it's quite evident here that you've done a hell of a lot of piracy over the years. The question is, will Gandalf save me when karma comes calling? I don't know if you're referring to me. If that's the case, then no. What can I say? You know. It's just one of these things. Right, Woodland 37, he is saying here, when I was a lad playing in an Amstrad CPC 464, you used to buy a £3.99 game, take it back home and record it to tape. Back then you didn't care, as £3.99 was my pocket money and one game wasn't enough, of course. Then I'd take it back to exchange for another game which I could keep, as I couldn't take the piss, I guess. Same with Amiga discs and CDs. I think most people would say yes, they would pirate something if the quality of what you were copying didn't become less quality of the original. Yeah, in other words, you're getting a perfect copy. You know, it's not like it's not like copying a film where you're getting a really, really shitty, kind of grainy quality. With a video game, you're getting it exactly as it would be, apart from maybe the instructions. Is emulation piracy? Now you may well say that I can't buy that SNES game anymore, so I will emulate it. Well, not true, as eShops now have a vast library to download past games. Personally, I only buy games or systems I can't pirate or emulate. Yes, that age-old classic for is downloading a game that you can't buy, right or wrong. Well, as far as I'm concerned, you know, it's the argument is who is losing out in money. Now, the thing that sets software piracy apart from other piracy, I mean, people, I think there was an advert, people make the assumption, or not assumption, they make a comparison and say, if you can't, why do you pirate? Well, I pirate because I can't afford to buy all the games, I can't afford to buy the game. So they then say, do you own a Ferrari? And you say no. Well, why not? Because I can't afford to buy it. Well, why don't you go and steal it? Because there's no difference between stealing a Ferrari out of a showroom or downloading a game. Now I personally think that's nonsense. The biggest argument for a lot of people, and myself included as well, is, you know, I've downloaded or bought games, pirate games, of games. If I wasn't able to get a copy of it, I simply wouldn't buy it. Therefore, I am not denying the company that made it the money, because I wouldn't have bought it anyway. Does it make it right that I go and get that from elsewhere for less money? Probably not, no. But I do completely understand that the thing with piracy is when you copy a game, you know, companies spend millions of pounds. I mean, alright, back in the 8-bit, you know, it wouldn't have been millions of pounds, but companies, that's their business, to sell software. And, you know, they've invested a lot of money, time and effort, and at the end of the day, that's their product, that's how they make their money. They put out these games, and if everybody just pirated them, then the company would never get any income back, and ultimately we would be the losers. So yeah, I mean, it's people's livelihoods we're talking about here, programmers. So I totally get that piracy from that aspect is wrong. You know, buying pirate games or downloading games that are commercially available is wrong. I've done it. I mean, probably the PC would be the format that I did it on, and probably the PlayStation. And well, probably 8-bit machines as well, and the Amigas. So quite a few systems. The more current ones, I says no. I mean, I wouldn't really say I have, but yeah, I would never copy a game now that I could buy. You know, is it for a moral viewpoint? Yes, but also from a point of view, I don't see any point, because games are so cheap now. I would much rather give a company a fiver for a game. I mean, look at all these games you get, all these indie games, they're absolute pennies. Software now has probably never been as cheap. You know, a Spectrum game or a Commodore 64 game back in 1985 would be $9.99. That's probably, you know, that was probably about £40–50 worth of today's money. But I mean, games now, you know, we're buying you're getting a game for like 40 quid, 30 quid. That's, you know, that was probably about £10 worth back then. But look at what you're getting for the money, you know what I mean? And you can go into Steam, buy games for pennies, get them for a few quid. You know, you get these bundles where you're getting 5 or 6 games for not a lot of money. So there's really no excuse to pirate games. I don't know if piracy is such a big thing nowadays. I'm not privy to that information, but it's certainly harder now. I think because of systems constantly updating themselves. I mean, all these new systems, they all work. You want to have the connectivity. You want to be able to go online and play multiplayer. So it's certainly not as easy now for people to hack these machines. I mean, I've never even looked. I'm not really interested. I don't know whether the Xbone and the PS4, have they been hacked? I've no idea. I'm not really bothered about it. But I think the price of software now is so little, that there's really no excuse to pirate games. Can't remember what you were talking about. Oh yeah, sorry, yep, so you're talking about emulation. But yeah, systems where the games are no longer commercially available, I certainly don't have a problem downloading them. Yeah, you're saying there eShops own them. I don't know quite what that refers to. I mean, well, yeah, I suppose you're talking about the Wii U. I could download Super Mario Kart on the Wii U. So yeah, that's fair enough. But I don't, you know, I wouldn't try and pirate the Wii U version of Mario Kart, if that makes any sense. But I don't have any, because that's a game that's sort of newly available for a new system. But I don't have an issue with downloading a SNES game. That's, you know, that's where I am in that one. Okay, right, thanks for your questions there. And finally, Jamie has asked for here now. He's talking about Stuart Campbell. As anybody that is watching this probably knows, Stuart's a fellow Scot. He's a renowned, outspoken character, shall we say. He's a fantastic reviewer. He's written for most of the magazines, Your Sinclair, Your Spectrum, I can't remember what one it was. He's written for the Amiga magazines. He's massively outspoken, but when he's got something to say, it usually pretty much makes sense. So anyway, he's saying here, Stuart Campbell once said that the supposed damage inflicted by piracy is massively inflated by the industry. He made the point that not everything a person pirates is something they'd necessarily go and buy if they couldn't pirate it. What are your thoughts? Well, I've already said that. There are a lot of games that I have pirated, and I wouldn't have any interest in buying them, and 9 times out of 10 the games you pirate are rubbish. There have been some games that I've pirated, which have been good games, so I'm not going to say that I'm squeaky clean, not at all. But yeah, I do think that, for the industry to say there's, for every one copy of a game that's sold, there's 1,000 or 100 copies are made, so therefore the industry is losing 100 times £10, £1,000, whatever. I think that's incorrect, because you'd find that these people, if they physically could not pirate that game, they would not all go out and buy it. So yeah, I do totally agree. I think the industry has inflated the piracy figures somewhat. I'm sure it will impact for a definitely, but not as much to the sort of the way these guys put it. Have you ever pirated a game, thought bloody hell this is ace and totally deserves my money, and actually gone out and bought it? You did this with Sensible Soccer and the Settlers. Well, you've just named one of the games that I did do that with. I got a pirate copy of Sensible Soccer. I got the demo, I think, on Amiga Power, and then I went to Ingleston Market and bought it on that. That was the first one that came out. Then when they released, was it version 1.1, I think it was, they improved the goalkeepers, I went and bought that. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but yeah, that's one game, and that's one game that was still is a fantastic game and absolutely deserved my money. So yep, number 3, do these heinously annoying and ridiculous "you wouldn't steal a car" ads, I've just touched on that, at the start of most DVDs, make you want to go out and punch somebody in the face? Yeah, well, maybe not to that extent, Jamie, but yeah, there's no comparison. Stealing a car where you're taking something from somebody and denying them that what you've taken. Copying a game, I'm not denying them, because I've not taken, I'm maybe not giving them anything, but I'm not physically taking from them. So, somebody who, if I pirate a game from somebody, that person doesn't know I've pirated, they're not any worse off. Doesn't make it right, but yeah, I think that sort of comparison thing's a lot of nonsense. And lastly, piracy will never be beaten. People will always find a way. So if you were a games publisher, what would your strategy be to try and persuade people that buying the game is the best option? That's an interesting question. I think a game that just has data and nothing with it, it's always going to be difficult. I think what you want to do, you want to make the game bloody brilliant for starters. You want to make people think this is an amazing game, I'm going to go and support these people. Giving a nice box, packing some extra stuff, maps and booklets and that kind of stuff. But saying that, I used to still pirate games that came with stuff like that, so I'm saying that would work. It didn't stop me back in the day. What's a foolproof way? I think setting a decent price for something. When a game comes out, there's very few modern games, full price games, that I'll go and buy when they come out. Grand Theft Auto 5 was one of them. All my games for the PS4 were all bought brand new, obviously. There's very few games that I would go out and buy. I just, although it's sort of contradicting a statement I made earlier, games pound for pound are exceptional value when you see what you're getting for your money and compare it with old money. Pound for pound, games have now been cheaper. I still do think that £40 is, I'm not saying it's a lot of money for a game, but it's a lot. £40 is a lot of money. You can get quite a bit for that. You could put 2 gallons of petrol on. Well, the way it's going anyway. £40 is quite a bit of money. You can do quite a lot with £40. So to go and buy a game, it's a bit. If I ever pick up a game in a shop, the last game I bought in a shop was Drive Club, and I think it was £50. And I got given money for my Christmas, and I wanted to play the game right there and then. So I went to game and I handed over £50, and it was bloody painful. I did feel like I was being robbed. I was handing over, £5, £10 notes in exchange for this disc. and it did feel quite painful. I think the important thing for me is getting the correct price point. I don't have a problem going out and you know, that's why I buy most of my games now second hand, because you're getting them for a lot cheaper. I mean, I got a game there for my daughter. It's at Disney Infinity. It's normally about 40 quid. I got it for 10 quid on eBay. So yeah, I think the price point is the important thing. That's the important thing. I know companies will say, well, if you're selling games for 20 quid, then we can only invest half the money and the game won't be as good. That's a possibility. But yeah, I think if you have a game set at a sort of a reasonable price, and also offer updates that you maybe can't get in a pirate copy, then I think, you know, that'll hopefully appeal to more people. As you say, Jamie, I mean, you're always going to get people pirating games, whether a game is free or, you know, that's a stupid question. I mean, just to show how ridiculous it was, when I first got my iPad, I eventually jailbroke it. I can't remember why. In fact, I jailbroke it to put emulators on it. But then I discovered this app, and basically it let you download any app for free. And it got to the point I was like downloading apps that were 99 pence, and I was downloading a pirate copy. Then when I went to update it would come up, you know, you need to buy this. And I thought to myself, what the hell am I doing? Why am I pirating apps that are 99 pence? And I just deleted the thing. I thought, that's utterly ridiculous. So there's always going to be people, you know, if you've got to pay for a game, somebody wants it for nothing, regardless of how cheap it was. So yeah, I think it's a tough one. I mean, I think nowadays they're probably getting around it because games are becoming so intricate. You know, you need to be online. I mean, I think there's even some games now that you've got to be online to play them, which I think's utter nonsense. You know, I mean, if you don't have an internet connection, you can't use the game you've bought. So I think introducing multiplayer and things like that, it's making it more difficult now for pirates to download games and to actually run them. So I think that's possibly the way forward. But yeah, I think getting a good product, maybe bundling some extra stuff with it. The game's going to be really good. It's going to stand up, and also, you know, having it at a decent price. I think that's possibly the way to go. But what do I know about selling games? You know what I mean? So anyway, listen, guys, that's it. I don't know how long this video's dragged on for, but apologies about it being a bit shorter this week. You can probably appreciate I've got other things I need to do. So probably by the time you're watching this, I will be outside somewhere in Scotland running, hopefully. I'm going to give it my best shot. I mean, I know things can always go wrong in these things, but yeah, it starts at 1 AM tonight or 1 AM Saturday morning. So when you wake up for your breakfast tomorrow morning, you can just think, give me a wee thought and think that I'm still going to be out there running, and then I won't hopefully finish sometime early Sunday morning. So anyway, guys, that is it. I shall report back next week as normal, and you know, there'll be more videos. Things should return to normal. So as usual, guys, have a nice weekend. Thank you very much for watching and all your support, and take care.